episode 2. Let's just jump right into it. How you guys doing? It's been a while since that first video. Summer semester just ended, so I'm back at it. Let's go right into it. I'm gonna first talk about Golden State Warriors and how their roster is currently constructed. I don't think these guys are the favorites, honestly. I think Cleveland Cavaliers are probably still the favorite in the NBA. Golden State, for me, they need to get a center. I don't think Jaja Pachulia and Anderson Varejao, I don't think those are answers for a championship team right now. You just don't know how much Anderson Varejao has left. Jaja Pachulia has, for the most part, been a backup for his career. So, you know, you can't just play small ball throughout. When they were small in the finals and when Bogut got injured, they got destroyed on the boards. Tristan Thompson and LeBron James was just feasting on them. So I think they got to get a center. I heard they're in talks with JaVale McGee. That'll definitely help him. That guy's very athletic. Um, so, yeah, I mean, even with the addition of KD, I don't think it's automatic as a lot of other people think for the Golden State Warriors. Uh, Curry, he's got to add more things to his game. I think overall, um, but I mean, it's still a really good team. It's going to be very exciting to see what those guys are able to do. I mean, they were exciting this year without a KD, so we'll see. They should definitely have some offensive explosiveness, but they are going to need a big man in the middle to help them rebound and defend, at least protect the rim a little bit, just a little bit at least. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to be up there, one of the top teams in the running. I had one of my friends, he thinks San Antonio, with the addition of Paul Gasol, are the favorites. And, we'll see, how much does Gasol have left. They, just lost an all-time great and the best at his position ever in Tim Duncan. So, that'd be a story to follow too in the NBA. But back to the Warriors, I know they got David West, but, after seeing him in the playoffs this past season, I don't know how much he got left, to be honest. So I don't really know what they're getting there. And you have to have a bench in the NBA. You can't just get by just with your starters. Maybe on NBA 2K you can get by with just starters, but in the actual NBA you have to have some kind of bench. And they do have guard depth, but their front court, like Kevin Looney and James Michael McAdoo, they're gonna have to step up big time. Or Draymond and Kevin, they're gonna have to play like some major minutes if those guys aren't able to step up and get in those roles, play bigger roles. So, that's just my quick take on the Golden State Warriors right now, as we're in the off season before the season starts. Topic 2. College football season is right around the corner. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. I'm so ready for some freaking football. I've been playing Madden lately just to get my football fix. I want to talk about possibly the greatest coach of all time. I think it's Nick Saban. I do. I may catch some flack for this, but I think Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time right now. And let's get into this. I came up with some names who you could consider for greatest college coach of all time. In my opinion, of course. We got Barry Switzer, Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, Tom Osborne, John McKay, and Woody Hayes. So I just gave you a list of what? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven guys, right? And we're talking about greatest of all time. So let's go from the top of the list. Barry Switzer had 83. Yeah, let's just round up. 84%. He won 84% of his games, right? He won 3 titles. Went 8 and 5 in bowl games, which is 61.5%. Right. Okay, that's good. All right, let's go to the next guy, and this is going to be very controversial. What I'm about to say next, but I think you have to take this into account. I really do. Bear Bryant. Okay, many people think is the greatest of all time. Bear Bryant won what, like 6 titles, you could say, right? But I would say half of those came before integration at Alabama, even integration in the South. Okay, meaning they didn't put black players on the team, but they weren't even willing to play teams that had integrated. Okay, so they're not playing the full spectrum of competition, right? So if you're not playing the full spectrum of competition, how can you ever really say you're the best, or not even just the full spectrum, but the best of the competition? You know, we go back to that, I think 1970 game when Alabama finally does play an integrated team in this USC and get waxed. You know, so for that, you know, I had to take away 3 of Bear Bryant's titles. So for me, you know, he won 78% of his games. I give him credit for 3 titles, and he went 15, 12, and 2 in bowl games, which is like 55% of his bowl games. Okay. Um, Tom Osborne. I'm gonna go to him real quick. Who, and I grew up in the time where I saw Tom Osborne in Nebraska kick ass. I mean, Nebraska was a fucking machine, man. It was impressive to see them run that option and those same plays week after week, and teams just couldn't stop them. I mean, they was trucking everybody. Go ask the Florida Gators in '96 about the Nebraska Cornhuskers and Tommy Frazier. Tom Osborne, he won about 84% of his games. He's got 3 national titles. The only thing about Tom Osborne, he went 12 and 13 in bowl games. That's 48%. So, okay. John McKay of USC fame, won about 75% of his games. 4 titles. Went 63 in bowl games. That's about 67%, right? That's pretty damn good. And he didn't went on to coach, you know, Tampa Bay and stuff. But we talking about college. We ain't focusing on what they did in the NFL or anything else. College, right? Woody Hayes, and you know, great coach. His lasting memory is socking the guy from Clemson after he picked Ohio State off, right, in the Gator Bowl. That's his claim to fame, but it shouldn't be. This guy was a great coach. Won 76% of his games, just about. This is the issue with him, though. I've seen where he's been credited with 3 titles. I've seen where he's been credited with 5 national titles. So he has at least 2 that could be disputed, but he has claims to 5 titles. He went 5 and 6 in bowl games, which is about 45.5%, right? All right. Let me get to the final 2. And the final 2 are current coaches, right? Urban Meyer. And I know people are saying, how can you have Urban Meyer on this list? Urban Meyer has won over 85% of his games. 85.1 if we're going to be exact, right? He's already got 3 titles. Okay? 2 at Florida, 1 at Ohio State. And he is 9 and 2 in fucking bowl games. Yes, Urban Meyer deserves to be in this conversation already. And we kind of look at Urban Meyer as a young guy. He's not really that old. He's seems like he has a lot ahead of him if he wants it to be, because we already saw he took a year off. You know, during his down there, Florida and stuff, right? Or after Florida. But 85% of his games he's won, and he's won about 82, almost 82% of his bowl games. That's pretty fucking impressive. And with three national titles, and you know how I feel about the number three. That's a lot in sports, right? So don't discount Urban Meyer. He's up there. He's up there. I'm a Florida State Seminole fan, and he was at Florida, and I can. He's a good coach. Despite what you may think of him personally, he's a good coach, right? So he's still out there. He's still coming. But for right now, Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach ever, right? Because he's won 76.5% of his games. He's got 5 titles. They can't be disputed. Like, they can't be disputed. Not really. Not really. He's got 5 titles, right? You know, the only iffy thing you could say about Nick is he's 88 in bowl games, but that's still 50%. It's a lot of coaches who would love to be 50% in fucking bowl games, right? So, you know, I don't know why people have an issue with claiming him as the greatest coach, and definitely putting him above Bear Bryant. I was talking to a couple weeks ago. I was talking to an Alabama fan. He had on his Alabama gear. We were talking, and I was asking him. I asked him. I said, "Is Nick Saban the greatest coach ever?" And he said, "No, I'm partial to Bear Bryant, even though I wasn't alive during Bear Bryant's time." That's very interesting. You're alive during Saban's time, and you don't want to proclaim him. Just I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why people want to continue to place Bear Bryant above Nick Saban. I think Nick Saban is doing it in an era where it's harder. There's so many more teams that are viable now in college football that have actual opportunities to uh, win at the highest level. It's not as closed off as it used to be. The recruiting, uh, Nick gets the guys that fits what he wants to do year in and year out, and it's just you know, and he won one, yeah, and he won at 2 different places. He won at LSU, then he won at Alabama. So he won at LSU. He goes to the NFL. He comes back to Alabama. Has to start all over, and he's just built this juggernaut down there in Tuscaloosa. And it is what it is. You can't hate on what he's done down there in Tuscaloosa. So right now, Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time. Honorable mention, Bobby Bowden. Yay! I call him Uncle Bowden. Uncle Bobby. I'm sorry. I'm already a couple beers in. Yeah, let's get another one. All right. This is my final topic for this episode. This one's kind of heavy. It's kind of loaded. But I kind of felt I had to say something. I want to talk about the myth of sports as a unifier, right? Damn, that's good. So, I work at a place, that's about having fun, and it's sports related, right? Um, and this doesn't happen a lot. But when I attempt to speak to some guests, um, some guests don't speak or acknowledge me back, right? The guests that always fall into this category always happen to be white. Hmm. Hmm. Right? And, I don't have 10-minute conversations with every guest I come across. But if I speak, the vast majority of them will at least speak back, right? And I don't have a timid voice. You know when I'm speaking to you, you're going to hear me, especially in that environment. I make sure that I'm heard, right? And it doesn't happen a lot, but the times that it does happen, it's always a white person. And it happened twice this weekend. And I just think that's one of the rudest things you can do is just not acknowledge a person when they speak to you. I just think that's just very rude, right? But I got to be honest. I think the people that have not responded back to me, I think it's because I think they haven't responded back because I'm black, to be honest. And that's the vibe and the feeling that I get. You know, um, this never happens with any other group of people. This doesn't happen with black people. This doesn't happen with, excuse me, Asian people that come into our place of business or Hispanic people. This only happens with white people. Um, yeah, I honestly feel that it's race based. Um, and it's that, every white person I talk to, they're not doing this. It's not that. And it's a small amount, but it is an amount. And it did kind of, it got under my skin a little bit this weekend. So once again, I just think it's just that's just so rude, you know? And, we like to believe that sports is a unifier and an equalizer, but not really, especially once the games are over. Like I said, I work at a place that is sports based and, you know, fun based, entertainment based, right? So you're coming there to have a good time. Um, how can you even enjoy leaving your house if you take hate with you everywhere? You know, what is it about a black person specifically that would just make you feel that way? Because it's not like I'm approaching you on the street or it's a dangerous situation like that. You're coming to my place of work, my place of business, you know. So, it's not like I'm bothering you. Then this is definitely a safe environment. So, I don't, you can't be afraid of me. That would be kind of weird, you know, when you look at the context of everything, right? But sports isn't the great unifier like we think it is or we want it to be. Um, sports still has some issues with race. If we just look at the NFL and, recently, they've been talking about the minority hires in the NFL at head coach and offensive coordinator, which has become the de facto number two position on the coaching staff. Has become the offensive coordinator now because it's such a offensive geared game. Uh, blacks in executive positions, or not even just blacks, but minorities, or American minorities in executive positions. And I say American minorities because uh, the minorities here aren't necessarily global minorities. The majority here would actually be the global minority, which is why I differentiate, however you say that word, between the American minorities, right? The NFL has the Dan Rooney rule, you know, because uh, Johnny Cochran and somebody else they kind of brought the NFL to task and was getting the courts involved, right? So the NFL develops this Rooney rule, which is teams at least have to interview minority candidates, right? They don't have to hire them, but they at least have to interview them, right? So Dan Rooney was the owner. His family owns the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ooh, excuse me. Which is one of the flagship franchises in the NFL, right? So this is a very successful franchise, right? They're one of the faces of the NFL. They're one of the top. You think NFL, you think Dallas Cowboys, Pittsburgh Steelers. You know what I'm saying? Teams like that. They're gonna be like this. One, two, or three of the teams you first think of when you think NFL football, right? And they've had no problem hiring blacks, right? So or minorities. So and they're very successful, obviously, right? So your franchises are going to be doomed because you have a black head coach or black people in certain positions, right? They've proven that, right? But the rest of the NFL, I don't know if the rest of the NFL cares. I don't know if they see it that way, and that's just the truth of it. That's just the truth of it. Um, just the large majority of the white owners are just not comfortable with blacks being in those positions. They're comfortable with them being their running backs and their wide receivers. And some of them are even coming around to them being their quarterbacks now. But in powers of position outside of the field, there still is a barrier, so to speak, between the two. You know, and it always it seems like a black coach is always kind of on the hot seat. Just like hell, Levy Smith just got fired. I thought he did a good job in Tampa, with a rookie quarterback. And that's a team that's trending upward, and you know, no one knows why he got fired. You Everybody's still questioning that, right? So, even in college football, it's worse. It's kind of like a lot worse in college football, actually. You So, even for example, let's say the Cleveland Cavaliers just won the championship, right? NBA championship, and then you saw all those people at the parade, victory parade, right? The celebration, and out of all those people, I bet there were a couple of people who have some prejudices, against, there were probably some white people there who had some prejudice against black people. But love LeBron James, just the numbers suggest that that's the strong possibility, right? We're people just like you. We're people just like you. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Those are words we created as people. There is only one race, and that's the human race. And we really need to just try to learn how to live with each other, man, because no one's going anywhere. No one's going anywhere. Black people are just not going to go back to Africa in the mass exodus. You know, if we would have to go back to Africa, some of you would have to go back to England and Great Britain. And you're not doing that, and I'm not suggesting you do that. And you know, let's say if you're a Japanese American, you know, some people would say, "Oh, go back to Japan." You're not doing that. You don't have to do that, right? So we just gotta learn how to live with each other, you know. And when somebody speaks to you, fucking acknowledge them. Seriously, that's just. Are you raising a fucking barn or something? That's ridiculous. But that's pretty much it for this episode. I know we got happy. I know we got heavy at the end, but that's all right. Sometimes you have to do that. You know, this is something I wanted to talk about, and I had to get it out there. I had to get off my chest. But that's it for episode 2. Beer and Ball. I'll see y'all next time.
Not enough troops to contend with the worsening security situation.
He was then flown into the